Hey, Greg, here we are. We are live. Hold on.
Welcome, welcome, everyone. It is 6:23 on Monday night, and you're listening to the ridiculously late 224th installment of the Age Out Angels Radio Hour here on www.hamiltonradio.net, Channel 2. I'm your host, Greg Rapport. If you're new to the show, I'm the founder and executive director of Age Out Angels. We provide one-to-one mentors to vulnerable youth for the purpose of coordinating the care and services that they need to thrive. We help young people avoid some of the horrible pitfalls that they're likely to face when they don't have a proper safety net. This program is brought to you every week at the same time, courtesy of Doc G, William Saunders, Ruben Rodriguez, and the fine people here at Hamilton Radio who allow us to use this airtime. Ruben is on the big board tonight. Robin is producing. So good to have both of you with me, and so good to have you listening from your computers or in your cars in New Jersey, around the country, and beyond. Made a friend in New Zealand last night who I know is listening to this show. So let's go. Now, please take a moment. If you're looking at us on Facebook or YouTube, hit all the buttons for me. We need you to like and subscribe and share, because what we're going to talk about tonight is relevant to everyone in your world. We're going to talk about what it takes to keep siblings together, or at least to have visits, regular visits, who happen to be in the foster care system. And if you're not aware, this is a huge issue in the world of child welfare, and it is not only in New Jersey. It is everywhere. So this applies to every geographic region, especially where you live. Needs to be shared. Please share what you're hearing right now. If you want to know about child welfare, community betterment, this is where you come to get the whole truth. And I promise, what you will hear tonight is not going to be on the nightly news, because tonight we're going to focus on the month of May. This is Foster Care Awareness Month. And my guest tonight does some pretty amazing work. Usually I talk a lot in the beginning, but I think I'm not going to do that tonight. I'm going to break with tradition, because Maria Jones has been waiting so patiently for our links and our technology to work properly tonight. And I don't want her to wait any longer. So Maria Jones is the founder and, I guess, president and executive director of JISU, which stands for Joy in Siblings United. And Maria, welcome. Welcome to the Age Out Angels Radio Hour.
Well, thank you so much. My ring just went off. Okay. And it's pronounced JISU.
Okay. That's good to know. Do you remember where we met?
Yes, at Isles.
It was at Isles. Okay.
Yeah, it was one of those stakeholder meetings.
Okay. It was a Trenton area stakeholder meeting at another nonprofit, which is called Isles, for those of you who don't know.
It was at their building, yeah.
And I usually walk around and introduce myself to everyone to find out what's going on. Is that what happened?
Yep.
And then you told me what you do, and I thought, why don't we just get married right there?
But you were involved elsewhere. Okay.
But that's right.
It took you how many years to get to me, huh?
I had other commitments, but I never stopped trying, Maria. Tell everybody what JISU, was that what you said?
Pronounced JISU, not Jesus, although we rely on him.
Okay.
JISU, JISU.
Tell everyone what JISU does and how you came about doing it. You actually were a foster mom, right?
No. But let me just clarify something. I'm really not dealing with foster care and visitations.
Okay.
It's the siblings, the bonding, the relationship between the children. Everybody else takes care of the visitations and all of those things.
Okay.
But my function is to bring the children together and help them work on their relationship, and then prepare them for, catch your phrase, aging out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But feel free. I mean, because I'm not really too good at this. Okay. You had asked the question.
Why?
Okay.
Yeah.
Why is because I became a mother at a very late age, and I took my 1-year-old niece out of foster care. She just turned a year. That was in 2008. And we won't tell you. You can do the math. We'll tell you how old I was then. Okay. But I was in my 60s, early 60s. So she was my first and Only child. She had other siblings, and I expressed the desire to have her have a relationship with them, at some point. That never happened. So a few years after, I saw remember those little magazines used to come out in the newspaper on Sundays? There was an article about another camp service. It was called CTV. But they were about fun once a year. But I'm saying, but sibling unification, that sounds great. Okay. But how can I make it all year? So my pastor was Reverend Darrell Armstrong, okay, who came out of the foster system.
That's a good friend.
You know him well?
I do.
Okay. We talked, and I said, what can we do? How can we bring this to New Jersey? So I went out to Arizona to a national conference, which you're required to do, but I decided that that was not for us. They only did it once a year, camp, and there was a whole lot of money that we had to send from New Jersey to them to carry that name. So we created our own. So in 2011, we created JISU, and it became a nonprofit in 2012. But the catalyst was for my baby, okay, for Anaya.
Right, so you like, I characterized you as a foster parent. You took, if you took someone who was in foster care and took them in and raised them, that would make you kinship care.
Nope. Adoption.
Oh, you actually adopted
right to the end.
The parental rights had been terminated.
Yes.
And was this your sister's child?
She's my biological niece. She's my brother's child.
Your brother's child. And they relinquished the rights to you, and
yes.
You raised her as a single mom?
Yes.
Wow. Man, yesterday being Mother's Day, I'll tell you, there is nothing harder in this whole wide world.
Now at 77, okay?
Yeah. There's nothing harder in the whole world than being a single mom.
But wow. It was obviously, because I planned on retirement of being in my 60s to retire with a sports car and somewhere overseas or something. But the Lord had other plans for me.
I see. That's true. Okay. All right. So you adopt a niece, and the niece now has how many other brothers and sisters?
About 5 or 6.
Okay. So there are other children out there that it was female, right?
Yes.
Could be having a relationship with.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. And your sensibility of that is that it's important for her to have that relationship, that there could be damage of not having a relationship.
Absolutely. I mean, our motto is sibling separation knows no boundaries. So whether it's foster, adoptive, kinship care, divorce, death, or reunification, those children don't know how to interact with each other. They've been split, so they're carrying baggage from that, or they've been brought back together. Oh, where'd you come from? And how come you were kept? So there's all kinds of things at play. And who knows better than the children, okay, how they've been impacted by not having a sibling. You know what I mean? I mean,
sure.
Okay. So that was really the heart of it, to bring them together, even for a temporary period of time. Okay, that's what I said. It wasn't visitations per se.
Well, now visitation is something that's sort of written into the law for foster care, and they're supposed to have a certain number of visitations with biological family members, right? And frequently that can get misused.
Absolutely.
I mean, what comes to mind instantly is when it gets misused as a behavior modification, like if you don't behave, you won't see your mother, you won't see your brother or your sister. And so that is something that exists completely apart from what you're doing.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. It's not connected to.
Where do your clients come from? How do you get the clients for your organization?
Word of mouth. Programs like this, people hear about the program or through Children's Home Society, organizations like that are similarly situated.
Yeah.
will either have me come and speak or pass the word on, and it's basically word of mouth. We tried advertisement, we tried the billboards in the whole 9 yards, and
Did you really?
yeah, down
Wow.
around the train station. But then
Hmm.
that's when I was advised that people do not stop and read those signs
Hmm.
because they're on the road. So every time I see signs, I'm like, ain't nobody reading that, you know.
I tried pasting things up everywhere when
Yeah.
I started Age Out Angels. Any supermarket that had a billboard, man, had a
Yes.
tack at the
Yes.
ready.
Then that's an idea, because we're just really re-upping since COVID shut things down. So we're just getting gearing up again. We were scheduled to go to camp last year, and the staff got COVID at camp, so the kids were all packed up, ready to go. And because that's one of the things we do try to give them fun along with preparing them for aging out,
Yes.
preparing them for
And
reunification or
we're gonna
separation.
we're gonna get in depth about exactly how it is you go about doing that in
Okay.
just 1 minute. But first, I need to make sure everyone who's listening knows about the Bridges to Employment program. If you're not familiar, Bridges to Employment is a combination education and career program for youth who are in foster care or who have aged out of foster care. It serves youth between the ages of 16 and 24. And I will tell you that high school will never be better than the Bridges to Employment program. Now, understand, we don't have a football team or cheerleader squad or chess club or any of that stuff. What we do have is tutors who work one-to-one with youth who are having trouble getting out of high school. And let's face it, I mean, people have trouble getting out of high school for a lot of reasons.
Mhm.
I was speaking to someone just today who very capable, very intelligent, very good student, loves school, but has to stay home and take care of young ones in the household because the person who might ordinarily be taking care of them is also the only one who can go out and make money to support that household. So there are real reasons why people can't go to traditional high school. And Bridges to Employment is designed to help those people not only get through high school, because it doesn't say bridges to high school, it says bridges to employment. You get through our high school program and you will be ready to either go to college or get involved right away in some kind of vocational career training program. And so our goal with Bridges to Employment is to start with you as someone who hasn't finished high school. And when we're finished with you, have you making $50,000 a year or more in a career that you can use to support yourself with. Then we'd like to dance at your wedding, if that's okay with you. But tell your friends if you are or ever were in foster care. The Bridges to Employment program exists to help you get on your feet and be able to support yourself. In fact, we have a new program and we're hoping you'll spread the word. It's called the 2020 component to the Bridges program. It enables youth who are really committed. You got to be committed to be in the 2020 program. But what you do is you learn for 20 hours a week of school and you get work for 20 hours a week. So you can work at a job, you can make a little extra money for spending and saving. But you know what's the most important thing about that job? We need you to learn how to work a job and get a reference. Because when you go out to get your own place to live, when you try to make moves in a career where you have to do an application where they ask for references from that first, second job that you've had in your life are really, really important. So if this is appropriate for you, you know how to get in touch with me. You can do it on Facebook. It's easy enough. And if you're interested in learning more about the Bridges program, you can meet me in person this Friday, May 19th. I will be exhibiting and presenting the Bridges program at the First Wesleyan Church in Jersey City from 4 to 7 p.m. That's at 201 Woodlawn Avenue in Jersey City, New Jersey. If you want more details about that, contact me, but feel free to meet me there in person. Yes, May is Foster Care Awareness Month. I think June is also Adoption Month, if I'm
I
not
think so.
mistaken.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
So we're going to see if we
We're
can
getting
ride this,
it.
for a couple of months. Do you know this industry, Maria, I don't know if you agree with me or not, but this industry is so fragmented. Um, the numbers that get thrown about,
Mm-hmm.
you know, are just so amazing. And so I was researching May as Foster Care Awareness Month, you know, on Google, and I found that the Children's Bureau and the Child Welfare Information Gateway are two, you know, sort of pretty good resources for information about foster care and children in need. And they all have sort of different information. Like I've seen, for
Mm-hmm.
example, I've seen that there are 463,000 children, youth in foster care. And then the other one says there are 391,000 youth in foster care. And each one says it like it's fact. And we just don't know. You know, we don't know how many kids are out there who need help. And of course, your work extends
Greg,
beyond
excuse me.
foster care.
Greg,
Yes.
do we care?
Well,
If it's
that's just
one
it.
child,
Your work
okay?
extends beyond the foster care system, right? I mean,
Yes.
you're
Yeah. Yeah.
right.
I mean, we never get it right. You can find a statistic for whatever you want. We know that, right?
Mhm.
But throwing the figure out there, okay, how many of them are in New Jersey? We don't know, but we just know there's a lot of kids out there in this that
Yeah.
needs us. You
Yeah.
know what you do on both sides, okay? What
Mhm.
I do, all right. So be it 100,000 different,
Yes.
we know they're in need.
Okay, fair enough. Now, what they are saying this year that they're focusing on, and something that I've also seen as well, is the need for mental health awareness
Mm-hmm.
among those young people. And I don't know if you have the same experience I do. You tell me. The people that I see are frequently, especially the females, so traumatized that they're like a deer in the headlights.
I don't know if I'd attribute just to the girls, the females. You know, if I think back on, you know, the children that have come through JISU,
Hmm.
Greg, I have to say they're equally troubled. Okay. I'm just thinking about some of those that have kept, you know, maintained contact. But now I have to say it's the boys and the girls that I wouldn't put one, you know, uh, toward the other. But in terms of mental um, issues,
Yeah.
mental health, mental abilities, sibling separation adds to that. You know, you now have another piece there because you're not bonding, you're not with that other person who was in your life. All right. And sibling separation with me, with JISU, involves not just foster, adoption, and kinship care, it also involves death, divorce, moving, whichever, that's why I said we doesn't have any boundaries.
Hmm.
So whichever caused that separation or reunification, that's what we need to work on. That's what we need to catch them before they get to the point of aging out or uh, going for employment, which I'm very interested in your bridges to employment. Okay. Didn't know about that, Greg.
It's the best kept secret in town.
Yeah.
I got to
Yeah.
be honest. And of course, each child being an individual sort of handles that trauma differently,
Mm-hmm. True.
right?
True.
Um, what do you see severe behaviors in what you do? Like, do you see children who are cutting?
Whew. No, not to that point.
Okay.
Okay, because of the short time that they're with us, you
Yeah.
know, we're there for crisis. We're there for whatever they need.
Hmm.
Fortunately, I have not encountered something that severe,
Okay.
but we have them acting out in different ways.
Hmm.
All right. There were several children that we sent to camp, and I got a call that we needed to come get them because one was acting out, and apparently she had given an account of her history, including that with, you know, she had older MDIFIS, and the camp, for whatever reason, decided they were going to call DIFIS again, and it freaked the kid out. So
Hmm.
she said, I want to go home. She was talking about her history,
Yeah.
where she was now. Why would you call DIFIS in that situation?
Well, you don't
Until you
even
found
react.
out everything, if you're still going through it, whatever the case may be. So that's just, you know, and she was part of a family They
Yeah.
have cousins and two sisters that came to us,
Yeah.
and the violence just went. It got to the point that they were confrontational with the camps. They were confrontational with me, and after a certain point, I have to say, okay, do you want this or not?
Yeah.
Okay, because it's up to you.
Yeah. I had experience with a young lady about, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it just takes a second to realize this, but when painted into a corner,
Mm-hmm.
she would just start cursing, just
Mm-hmm.
bang, just right between your eyes, cursing
Mm-hmm.
every word you could possibly imagine. And painting her into a corner is was real easy to do unintentionally, because she had the phobia about being around people, especially strangers. Right? When she was around strangers, she would become hyper vigilant. She'd always be looking, for
Mm-hmm.
where's it going to come from? Where's the hurt, going to come from?
Exactly.
So, I mean, when I triggered that in her, I was saying, come into this room where there were a whole bunch of, it was, an event.
With an open door where she
Yeah.
could, yeah.
Yeah. And so come into this room, and you could see her recoil. You could see her blood pressure go up. And then she started a string of expletives. And of course, from working with this that, our reaction in that situation is don't react,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Or if I have to react, I get somebody else to handle it. Okay. Because it's not necessarily my forte. I'm the administrative side, not necessarily the counseling and okay, but we do what we have to do.
Yeah, I am too, but I work with every kid, every single kid I see.
Yeah.
I do. I have to. That's why, isn't that why you started it? Come on.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely. It's to work with the
And
kids.
that's why I'm continuing it even without staff.
Yeah.
All right. A reduced board.
Right.
Okay. My board is down to 5, and just a few kids right now since we just re-upped. Um, but whether it's one kid that JISU can help, can be there for them,
Then
you
you
know,
do it.
then
That's
then you,
right.
then you do it. Absolutely.
Now, so all right. So what happens now? A child comes into your system. What's the onboarding process?
Well, we're looking into the child's history. Okay, first of all, we've got to find either the child can come on their own, all right, or they can come as a result of an adult referring them. But if an adult refers them or brings them in, that child has to display a willingness through interviews, okay, that they're willing to work with us to work with them. Sorry
Okay.
about that. Okay. And so, it's an interview process.
Mm-hmm.
The children were usually 7 to 22, but we found there were siblings younger than 7.
Yeah.
So is a few of them grew up in the system that are now teenagers, but they weren't eligible at the time to be part of JISU, but they would still be there. Okay, because our official was 7 to 22. All right. So after the interview process, and then we identify what the needs are. If they are a child of DIFUS, okay, we get information from them as to what the child's needs or issues may be. All right. And while the system deals with meaning the courts and other social services, deal with family reunification. JISU does it. We're concerned about the children. Everything else has, okay, we got to bring the family back together. That's not always the best thing. So I'm trying to make these little soldiers, better without necessarily the big thing that they call family. But their family are those kids that they either were birthed with or environmentally grew up with. Not all the children's siblings are biological. Sometimes it's cousins or just friends who were raised by someone else, but now somebody's moving on or somebody's separated, or the kid that's aging out now leaving mom's home, but the other kids are left behind. So that's why we say sibling separation knows no boundaries.
So,
Okay.
okay. So someone comes into your system, and you, like, after a series of interviews,
Mm-hmm.
and so, all right. So when you do those interviews, what are you telling them to expect?
Well, first we want to listen before we start telling them. Okay.
Okay.
We tell them what the services are, but be it key and foremost is the reunification with the sibling. And they're usually aware of that sibling. It's not like Anaya, who doesn't know who they are or where they are. So, we start with that, the bonding, the reunification of the sibling. Okay, we tell them about the program, that we're crisis intervention, that we're there whenever they need us, 24 hours. Just give us a call. We're there for you. So we let them know that we're their advocate, right? We're there to help them. We get to job placement, later on down the road. But when they first come to us, it's providing activities for them. We have a program um, of birthday celebrations, but it's a new birth because now they're with their siblings like they never had it before. So that's their new birth date. Okay. We tell them about the camp. We tell them about the mentoring and other things that we do. But then we also tell them that we expect their participation. Okay. We want them to come in with an open mind. The first camp we went to was a YWCA camp, which 25 kids attended. It was the largest number I had. And just exposing them to teamwork. It's got to be teamwork, right? With us, but also with each other. So that's where it begins. How much do you want this? And are you willing to put in the work for it? And we're here to help you along that way, but you've got to be open with us too and respectful. Because I've heard some of those vulgarities. Oh, believe me. Okay. So.
Okay. I want to hear all about the camp in just 1 minute. But first, I'm trying to convince everyone who listens to this program to do one thing, and that is to adopt an older youth out of foster care. This is Foster Care Awareness Month, and when people think about adopting from foster care, all they're thinking about is newborns and toddlers. And first of all, that's kind of unrealistic. I want you to think about this for a second. If a child is newborn or toddler, the goal is reunification.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going into this thinking, I'm going to game the system and get in there good and foster a child or two, but then I'm going to adopt an infant, may work, but it may not, because the younger the child, the greater the chance that they'll be reunified with their biological family. But man, I want to tell you, I work with teenagers between the ages of like 15 and well, 21, 22, but they're still teenagers even when they're 21 or 22. And boy, they would love to have a family. They really would. It's going to be a different experience for you than if you were raising a newborn. On the upside, there's no diapers involved.
Hopefully.
But you will also see some very interesting milestones in the life of a teen. That's a crazy and changing time, as you well know. Now, one thing though that is very common among teens is that they're at an awareness stage where they really miss not having a family. Everybody else has a family. At their graduation, everybody else in their class has family, surrounding them. And if they're females, they hand them bouquets of flowers and things like that. And these guys are just, kind of standing there. They would be so grateful, I promise you. And if they wouldn't, they'll say, like, they have a say in their adoption. If they don't want you to adopt them, they'll tell you that. And there are reasons that they wouldn't want to be adopted. Like, I know a lot of teens who are just hoping, no matter, they'll be like 20, 21 years old, and they're hoping they can put their family back together. That happens all the time. We're going to get back to you in a second, Maria, because death of a parent, of a biological parent, is huge in this market. But think about it, will you? Think about adopting a teen. Think about fostering a teen, maybe to sort of put your little toe in the water and get a feel for what that would be like. But there are how many, Maria? I don't know. Pick a number.
Well, yeah, pick a number.
Right, pick a number. How many people are out there who are part of the system, but are between the ages of, say, 15 and 21 or 22. I think it's a great idea to adopt someone also when they're 21, because there's a very good chance that a person who'd been in foster care when they're 21 is in the middle of college. They age out of the foster care system. They're homeless. They never finish college. It would be the best time in the world to adopt a college student who'd been in foster care when they're about 20, 21 years old. And there are a million stories about how they will love you forever for doing it. Okay. So tell me about camp, Maria.
What do you want to know?
I want to go.
Okay. I never went to camp. Okay. So you can't go either, Greg.
Okay.
The camp becomes the fun aspect. We do things throughout the year, like going up to the mountains and what's that thing, that tube that they ride in? I don't do that. Okay, somebody else does. All
Okay.
right. So we expose them just from the strict part of what we're trying to give them for life development. We give them the fun side too.
Okay.
Okay. Unlike the other organization, that only did the fun side. The first camp, like I told you, was YWCA, and I think the lady's name was Miss Bennett. Okay, which is really great. It was a really fantastic overnight camp, 5-day experience, 5 to 7 days, and the children loved it. All right, so they were exposed to, like I told you, team building, okay, and the sibling interaction. After COVID, they did that for a few years, and just before COVID, we found a new camp, less expensive, okay, so that our sponsors didn't have a whole lot of more money they had to put out, which was a Christian camp. But I did not tell the children it was a Christian camp, because I'm not about their souls. That's somebody else's job. That's Reverend Armstrong's job, okay? And I didn't want them to be scared of that. But when they got there, 2 days in, and it was called CrossFit, was the session. It's called CrossFit. And it took me a few days after being there to understand they meant like fit for the cross, you know. But they did it through activities, through interaction. They combined sports, all right, tug of wars, all right, things that made them work as a team. So with my siblings there, because some of these kids were individuals, with my kids there, they began to work together with that sibling. So plus they were away from home. Okay. It was a whole new experience.
Yes.
And some didn't work out too well. Well, we won't go into that. I just have some bad thoughts. But the camp, and that's the same camp we're still using. And they went last year, would have gone last year, but COVID took over. So
I've camped with troops of Boy Scouts. I know what can go right, and I know what can go wrong.
Oh,
yeah. But
flashbacks.
It's just part of it. Sometimes it's good to be the administrator.
Now it's good with the camp that we use now, because when you come to the camp, they immediately staff bum rushes your car and says, "We want the kids, we want the kids," and they take the kids, and you only see them at dinner time or breakfast or with lunch. They take control of the children and what they need, and that's so great because it keeps us out of it. Like they'll tend to go to you for sympathy, but with these counselors, they're trained to do their job. All right. So when it gets a little antsy when that child wants to be confrontational and say, "Hey, well, you're not my mother. You don't tell me what to do." Now we have another problem. And when you're far away from home, like 3 to 4 hours, what is the recourse? Okay. So,
yeah, absolutely.
But camp is fun. Camp has been fun. I've learned a lot. But I'm not going back because I found that they have snakes.
Yes, they do.
So another staffer is going to handle it.
No, we had a young man one time. We were all having dinner in the dining hall, and one of the young men who was in our charge got up, walked out the door of the dining hall, and just started walking. And we were looking out the window. Where's he going? What's he thinking? Right. So I went out, And I said, "What are you doing?" He goes, "I'm going home." We were at least 3 or 4 hours away from home. And honestly, I think he was walking in the wrong direction. So he would have to go around the entire earth to get back to Ewing, New Jersey. But that was it. He just decided that was it. He'd been fed, he'd had dinner, and that was enough. And there he goes. So so yeah, that's how it is. So now
like story, same one, yeah.
when you have a client that you send to camp, that client has, let's say, 3 siblings. Do you send the 3 siblings with that client to camp?
The first,
Are you paying for 4? That's what I want to know.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, because we're not going to separate them even more. All right.
Mhm.
In fact, the first camp, there were 4 children, 4 boys. They're named alphabetically, so I gotta figure out. There were 3 or 4 of them, whatever it was. Yeah, no, they would all go. All right. No way would we not allow that child. That's why I told you, when there's younger children than the 7-year-old
Yeah.
for JISU, we don't shun them. We don't put them out. We still allow them to participate. Now, even Anaya was not able to go to camp. She wasn't old enough, even though it's her program. She wasn't
Yeah.
old enough for a few years because she was only what, 4 years old, maybe. Yeah. So, now she goes, but so
Right.
yeah. But no, however many kids are in, we same way with the gift giving.
You know what I'm wondering? Like, if do they always know how to interact with each other?
No, that's
Yeah.
the whole purpose of the program.
That's
Yeah.
important. Like,
Yeah.
just meeting new people. I've noticed that a lot of the youth that I meet in foster care are not good at meeting new people. They're very wary, they're and so here, this is your brother. Like
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
You're supposed to love it. So what do you do? Do you have like sessions where you give them training in that area, sort of?
There are sessions that uh, it's ongoing. It's ongoing. We have several people, psychologists, psychiatrists, others, um, who do bring them together. Like part of their meetings, because we were meeting, a couple of times a month, was to bring them together and do just that, teach them how to interact with each other,
Yeah.
particularly because some of them are also in the same home. Like I said, they're not all separated. All
Okay.
right. The bringing them back together was a little difficult. I can think of 2 sisters who were raised separately. One was by the mother who had addiction problems, and the other was raised by the aunt from infancy. So there was some resentment, some jealousy when they came back
Yeah.
together. We deal with it right then,
Mm.
okay? And we made it through,
Yeah.
and then, and they came out on the other side, okay. But
Right.
it wasn't easy and sometimes tearful and stressful, but it's what
Right.
JISU does.
And it's only natural, that you would, if your sibling was raised by your mother,
Hmm.
addiction issues aside, because that
Hmm.
wouldn't factor into your thinking. All you would know is that
Right.
your
Mom. Hmm.
sister was raised by mom, and why didn't mom want me? What
Hmm.
is so special about you? I mean, there's a million negative thoughts
Yes.
that could be simmering for a long time.
Yes, absolutely.
You
And
know?
it's continuing because um, one of them did not turn out so well. She is still a struggle
Mm.
mentally. All right. She's been in and out of trouble. She runs into the crisis center at the hospitals, and, when she can't get her way. So, but the other one is like all prepared for college and working. And so, they're still sisters, but,
Which one lived with the mother and which one lived with the aunt?
the one that's having the issues lived with the mother.
Uh,
The one that's working out okay, all right, is with the aunt.
yeah. Well,
Okay.
anecdotally, we could draw conclusions from that, couldn't we?
Yeah. Yeah.
But we see this, and you actually mentioned it a little bit earlier, that reunification, although that's the goal, is not always the best thing.
Right. Now the aunt is who raised this child as well as her own. Okay. And then she had a little bitty one that she brought into JISU because she was too young. Okay. But we still, had her there. She's still trying to work with the niece that she didn't raise.
Yeah.
She's in and out of her house, but then there's so many negative things that happen. But and she's on my staff. Okay. So she's staying involved with other children that she can hopefully not fall into the same trap that the two that she tried to raise. She feels a lot of guilt about it, but I thought you didn't raise her.
Right.
And you can't really fix it now. Once she becomes a teenager, you can only do the best you can. All right. But when it becomes threatening and crime and things like that, sometimes you got to let it go. We can't always fix everybody. Like I said, we can make it with one. And you saw on my website the young man that became a Marine.
Mm-hmm.
A Marine.
Yeah.
Very proud of him. And his mom sent that, and told me, So that's the kind of, but now they all can't be success stories. But do we give them enough that they can survive? Can they make it? Can they, before they age out, do they have the skills they need to make their own decisions? When you talk about aging out, a young lady, I was in a grocery store last week, and she was my cashier, but she wasn't paying attention, and I had to repeat a couple of times. And I said, what is your problem? And she said, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get home. She said the ride that she was supposed to have wasn't going to come and get her. So I said, you know what? I'll come back and get you. So she lived in the area because I'm in the South. She lived in the area. And so we began to talk. She was 19, just turned 19 years old. She got kicked out of the house when she was 18.
Oh, man.
Yes. And it's just, it's still like, so I told her, you keep my number. You need me, you call me. Because
such a candidate to be trafficked in that situation.
So
she didn't just standing there waiting to be trafficked. So, well, I had the most interesting cultural experience today. I had to take a young man to a fast food place that I had never been to, and the young lady behind the counter asked me my name, and I told her my name, and my name is fairly simple, Greg.
Okay.
It was obvious that she had never heard that name before, and so I spelled it 3, 4, 5 times. She was doing her best. She was attentive. It's not like she had attitude or anything like that. She
just couldn't get it.
Legitimately trying to spell my name correctly, but she had never heard my name before. And as I was doing that, like rather than get irritated, I thought to myself, look at her name badge and see if you've ever heard her name before. Right? And I looked at her name badge, and Maria, I couldn't even pronounce it. Okay.
That's not funny. I'm just
and I thought, well, no, what I thought to myself is people get so upset over nonsense. She had never heard my name before. I had never heard her name before.
Mm-hmm.
Not that big a deal. It really isn't. Be okay if we learned each other's names. That would be a nice thing.
But we're such a diverse society.
Yes.
How do you say that?
And it brings me to that issue of children being mentored by someone who looks like them. You're hearing that a lot now. I'm sure I am. I'm hearing it all the time, that children need somebody who looks like them so that they can look up and understand the possibilities. Like when I work with a 14-year-old girl, does she look at me and say, I want to be just like him someday? God, I hope not.
But there's other things you can give her.
Oh, yeah. Many things I can give her. Yes.
So.
But should an African-American girl have a mentor who is African American, just so that, like, you got the same hair or something, the same makeup.
Well, not necessarily, but that's all
No,
good. That's saying everybody got the same hair, Greg. Watch it, okay? That's all well and good, but there's not enough people, to adopt and take children out of foster care as it is. So we're
right.
going to sit there and say, okay, until somebody of color comes along, okay, or until you have a mentor that looks like you, we can't do that. All right, and I've run into that. You remember the woman in Princeton who had the siblings, two boys, two black boys. She's Caucasian female. She had two black boys. And there was this big outcry that this white woman was raising these kids. I'm a former president of the NAACP. I didn't care who it was. If they want to do the love and give that kid what they need, now, okay, now we'll take it back to culture and all of that. There's things we can do. Anaya is biracial. Her biological mother is Caucasian. I don't know what the heck to do with that. I didn't even know how to do her hair. I'm in the store saying, okay, what do I do with this? All right. Does she need sunscreen on? Things like that. So if you've got the love, I don't care. Anything goes. Okay. You can make it work. All right. Whether you look like them or you don't look like them, because you can take them to the point you need some reinforcement. It's out there in society. But first take them and give them the love that they need. Okay. Bring them into your home or interact with the siblings, whatever the case may be, now while they're young and you can still form them, shape them, mold them. Okay. But no, I won't stand on that it's got to be us with ours and you with yours, or even he with she. But if you're gonna love it, do it.
That's, you know what?
That makes sense.
Well, the whole thing that both of our organizations are built on is love. That's the first prime directive, isn't it?
Yes.
That's what we have to do. I make sure that all of our mentors know that going in.
Absolutely.
We're going to do the best we can, but we're working with children that are fully formed.
Mm.
They are 16, 17, 18 years old. They're only going to change so much. And they're going to have to want to. They're going to have to.
But then my babies, we want to get them before they get to that point that they're locked into where they are. So that's what's about 14 or 15 is when we start working on the job development and what are you going to do with your life and financial planning and things like that.
Yeah.
The 7 to 14 has the interaction, okay, but we concentrate on before they age out, get them ready, because that's been so sad. There's a film. One of the people we work with, Beyond Expectations, and you've probably seen it since Age Out Angels, and it was called Aging Out, and it showed a young man. Have you seen it? He showed a young man leaving the house. It's a black and white. You don't know where he's going.
Yes.
Now he's abandoned. You know what I'm talking about?
Mhm.
That was so powerful. Okay, and I said everybody needs to see that film. And we did have it on our website at one time, but I don't think it plays anymore.
Now, people around the country who are listening to this can sort of start an organization like yours, can't they?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yes.
you kind of did it in a grassroots way, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So what would be their first move? Call Daryl Armstrong?
Well, actually, he has several other through across the country, and we're considering, uniting, all under one umbrella.
That's right.
But first, be willing to do so, and it's a lot of work. It is a lot of work. You have no time for yourself, so you got to be committed to it. Now you got to find the children. You notice I said find the children before the money. Okay.
Yes.
Because with my children, they get taken care of no matter what I have to do.
Mm-hmm.
That first year when they went to camp, 25 kids, where do you think the $16,000 came from?
Hello.
Out of my pocket.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I can't keep doing that. I got a kid to raise. Okay. So, it's the fun of it. But most important, I want the children. I want to have, and I will find the service. I will get the needs met.
Mm-hmm.
There's one organization that I can name that is every year supporting us through either a check and or Christmas holiday celebrations. All right, every year, the Columbiettes, the Hopewell Columbiettes, they've been supporting me for about 5 or 6 years now.
Yeah.
You know, so it's that kind of thing that you look for. Other sponsors, people of like work. Now, you and the other lady that you had on that wasn't able to continue, those are the kind of people I need to hook up with.
Oh, Shine and Inspire. That was Carol Feldman from Shine and Inspire. I'll
Yes.
have her on another day.
Yeah.
She had an idea to put closets in schools. She's done amazing work. She has these closets in like high schools and stuff that has supplies and like healthcare supplies for women and things like that in there. She's amazing. And again, that's another example of something, because the reason I wanted you both on the show tonight was because these are two things that anybody can start anywhere in the
Yes.
country. You just have to want to. Well, you got to have the time, and the resources, but you have to really want to do it, and you have to want to give, the love.
Well, you may not have the time, but if you're willing to make the time.
Make the time.
All right.
Yeah.
I've only recently, 5 years ago, I retired. So I was doing all of this while I was working.
While you were
All
working.
right.
Yeah.
So again, it's the heart part in the little plug back there with the angel with the wings. But if you want to do it, and like I said, if you have just one child, okay, do it. All right. Start with those couple of children. All right. But just be willing to do what it needs to do to protect that child, to help that child grow and become a successful, okay, individual that hasn't fallen between the cracks. Okay. There's no criminality involved.
Right.
Whatever it needs to make that person
Yeah.
what we consider, a good human being.
Well,
So,
self-sufficient.
yeah.
Right? Confident, self-sufficient, living in a safe environment, that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Yeah. And giving back. And giving back.
Yes, and giving back. That's right.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Maria, I'm going to come back to you in just a minute, but first, we've been talking so much about bridges to employment, but not so much the employment. We always talk about the education. And I see young people getting their first jobs, making certain mistakes, shall we say, on the job that you should really never do. And so we've come up with the 10 things, and this is actually according to Forbes magazine, that you should never share with your manager at work. Okay. Never tell your manager when you're job hunting. Unless there are special circumstances that make it appropriate for you to do so. Like if the company's being sold and everyone's job hunting,
Well, you're not giving me a raise.
But never tell you. Like people will mistakenly use that as a threat. Like yes. If I don't get this, I'll be looking for work. And of course, every manager in the world, when they hear that, starts hiring.
Mm-hmm.
Right away, starts looking for your replacement.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, never tell your manager about your long-term career plans if they would disrupt your manager's vision for how his or her department should be staffed. Okay? Like, there's no benefit to telling your boss 2 years from now, when my husband finishes school, we're going to move back to Philadelphia. Just don't share that information. Number 3, never tell your manager anything you heard in confidence from another employee, unless it's a safety related issue. If there's, something where someone would be threatened, you have to say it. But even if your manager is dying to hear news and thanks you profusely for sharing it, he or she is also smart enough to know that if you gave up other people's secrets, your manager can't trust you either. And I tell kids about this all the time. Just be aware. There are managers who will bait you into doing that just to find out how trustworthy you are. Number 4, never tell your manager your personal financial situation. If you're struggling to make ends meet, your manager may worry that you'll leave for a higher paying job. Some managers will also judge you harshly for your inability to manage your finances. Whether their judgment is justified or not doesn't matter. And similarly, if you're flush with cash because you're a good saver or some other reason, your boss could feel jealous. Like, there's no point in telling a manager like how much money you have or don't have. There's nothing in that for either one of you. Keep your financial situation to yourself. And the funny thing is, from the children that I know, the one thing that they own is their business. They do not let their business out. Okay? And yet they'll tell a manager. Never tell your manager your personal drama.
Mm.
When people are bored, they'll happily listen to friends and family gossip. But later, they'll wonder, why is this employee's life always in turmoil? Get your advice and moral support from somebody else, not your supervisor. Number 6, never tell your manager that you don't like the company or don't respect the leadership team. Kind of goes without saying, except it needs to be said. How would you feel if you worked for an organization and one of your employees told you these VPs don't know what they're doing? Number 7, never tell your manager that they need to deal with another employee's issues. Oh goodness, that happens every time you take over a department. Maria, if you've ever taken over a department in a corporation, like you're the new director of whatever, or even manager, the day you sit down on your desk, you wait for who's the person going to come in the door and drop a problem on your lap that requires you to like attack somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just an employee coming in, setting you up. And managers look for that, and we never trust that employee again, the one who comes in and tells me about somebody else. Number 8, never tell your manager that an ultimatum, you know, that unless this or that happens, you'll quit. Just do your resume in silence. Number 9, never tell your manager that you want his or her job.
No.
I did that once.
How did that work for you, Greg?
I got transferred to another branch of the company. It was a promotion, but I was out of his world at that point.
Next.
Exactly. Number 10, never tell your manager that you feel overqualified and stuck in your job. It is not your manager's job to manage your career. That's your job. You know, one time my wife had to do this. She had actually had to make her resume, take her master's degree off of her resume because we were sort of new in New York, and she was trying to get hired in, you know, sort of basic entry-level type positions. And everyone looked at her resume and said, no, you're overqualified.
Overqualified.
Yeah, we're not going to take you. So she had to take that off, you know, in order just to get a job. I mean, lots of times, you know, we're talking about careers, but other times, and especially the people that we work with, Maria, that, you know, they just need a job sometimes. They got to get some money and buy some food and pay the rent, you know, and the electrical bill. I know a girl who sells her plasma twice a week so she can pay the cable bill. You know, there's real needs out there. And I'm so glad that you are part of the solution. So people need to donate to your organization, right?
In various ways.
Yeah. So what's a good way for them to do that?
Well, like I said, first of all, I'm still looking for the children. Where are the children? Where have all the children gone? Pardon the pun. All right. They're on our website. There is a link that you can make a donation. We are a nonprofit. We're a 501c3, so everything is tax deductible.
And what's the URL to your website?
www.jisuexp.
Oh, it's got to be org.
Is it net or org? You were there. You were there. Is it net or org? Because we changed it. That's why it's net. You're right. It's net.
Yeah.
Sorry, folks. I'm, you know.
But if you do a Google search, well, if you do a Google search on JISU,
gotta be
you
careful.
might not get it because there are a lot of Japanese artists and people who have that name.
And there's some other stuff too with that name, but yeah,
I don't know about that, but okay. But so you really should look up Joy
and Siblings United.
In Siblings United.
Or the JISU, because the whole name is the JISU Experience. Okay, but it's just dropped to JISU, so it's Joy and Siblings United.
And if people local are listening to this right now, and they can sort of recommend youth into your program? Is that what you're looking to
Absolutely.
do now? Is restock? I'm guessing.
Yes, yeah, that's a nice way to put it. Get restocked. Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. Either through Shiloh, where Reverend Armstrong is,
Hmm.
all right, or contacting me personally. We shut down our post office box because nothing was happening in the world for
You
a
bet.
couple of years. All right, but I can always be reached. I believe my number is still on the website.
Hmm. Yeah, there's a contact us part on your
Okay,
website.
and
And what
and
age
I'm
groups are you serving now?
still 7 to 22.
Hmm.
But if there's siblings connected, don't let that be a barrier to contacting us. Because somebody's younger than the 7.
Yeah,
They won't be underage for long. So it's just let us know. We'll figure it out from there. You let us know there's a kid involved. We will take it from there.
outstanding.
Okay.
Maria, it's such a
I can
pleasure.
also be emailed.
At
Jem Khan, that's J as in Joseph, E as in Edward, M as in Mary, C as in Charles, O as in Oscar, N as in Norman at Verizon.net.
gemcon at
Yes.
verizon.net. Very good. That's all the time we have tonight. I am so sorry to say, Maria
Well,
Jones, you are a joy.
no, thank you. I loved it. Okay. I hope I was able to get across a little bit about what JISU does. If there's more needed, people can check the site. But thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, no, you have to come back anytime. I also want to thank our engineer and our producer, Robin. Please put this in your calendars for next week. You're going to meet a young man by the name of AJ Sababu, who is a young man, but taking bullying very seriously and starting his own organization to help deal with that. So make sure that you meet us at this same time next week, okay? Until then, let's make this week the best week ever. What do you say, everybody? Good night, everyone.
Okay.
Sometimes this transmission ends abruptly. Don't think you've been punished.
Okay.